Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live on confusion or stress.
Good evening.
Four of us have just been having a little chat about that. We're all confused and stressed. So let me introduce the people that we're going to be talking to. Next to me is my husband, Tony.
Hello.
And he's in New Zealand with me. And then there's Elaine, who is in Sri Lanka. And there's Glynis, who's in Vanuatu.
Hello.
Which means we're all over the place. So we've got Marianne's here already. Hi, Marianne. Tracy. Oh, this is good. We're going to get quite a few. Hi, Amanda. So the whole purpose of tonight is I look around at the world and I see quite a bit going on. And I think a lot of it's around confusion and stress that may have started with the pandemic, but I think it's gone into wider areas. So we've now got Sonia, Karen, Caroline, and Annam. What I'd like to do is to throw it open to this panel. Are confusion and stress necessary? How about that for a question?
Ooh.
Hi, Ola. Are confusion and stress necessary? Who'd like to start with that one?
Well, I'll start by saying yes.
Because
it gives us a chance to grow, to learn from that scenario.
Okay. What do you two ladies think about this?
I think stress is quite a good motivator as well. It keeps us on our toes. It puts us on alert to certain situations around us. Confusion, perhaps also the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm confused. It causes us to question why we are where we are and where we're going, perhaps what we're going to do about it.
Okay. Glynis, what do you think?
I'm very much in agreement. When it comes to confusion, I think the opportunity is to get clarity. Where is the confusion? What's causing it? What do I need to understand? How can I do something differently? So as Tony says, it gives you an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
So why do we get confused? I love asking these questions. Why do we get confused?
Because we get so stressful, we can't think in a straight line. So instead of thinking about what colour am I going to paint that door, we end up painting the whole house a different colour because we've lost focus.
Thank God we've never done that. I know some people who have. Yeah.
You can look at I think that's where abstract art came from, when you think about it. I think some of the artists there, he was confused what he was going to paint, which led to being stressful. And then he ended up someone like a stick man or, throwing white paint on a canvas, getting millions of dollars. And that's my confusion.
Right. Okay.
If you believe that.
You're going to sell me a bridge.
No,
yeah.
Just a painting.
I think there's many different ways we can cause ourselves to get stressed. And a big part of that is possibly people pleasing, taking on everything all at the same time, thinking we've got to do everything absolutely perfect, getting ourselves all wound up about how we were going to achieve that. Are we good enough? That whole story we start to spin ourselves. And I think that can become a habit where we can become almost beyond recognition of ourselves. Okay. Because, it's not grounded.
Glynis?
For me, the confusion arises when I feel that there's a battle going on within me. I don't know whether to do this. I don't know whether to do that. And it's mostly in my head.
Okay. Well, Orla's given us an answer because our boundaries aren't clear.
Exactly.
It can be. Yeah.
Marianne, confusion's like an alarm bell to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Amanda, when she's too mental and not aligned. Tracy, maybe because we haven't done that thing before. I don't know that that's quite the same thing. It's not about doing something new. It's about the process that we go through when we do something new.
Yeah.
Caroline, why isn't that? Thank you. Now, Caroline's talking about stress, a bridge to take us to consider new ways rather than doing the same old.
Yeah.
Or, confusion's natural when we're navigating new territory. All of those are valid, aren't they? For me, I've come to the conclusion that we get confused when we've been used to doing something a particular way and we've perhaps become automatic, and suddenly we can't make it work. For whatever reason, the path we've been taking, the way that we've been operating doesn't work anymore. And that's confusing because it should.
Yes.
It takes us back to it should. I've always done it this way. Because, and Sonia said this is interesting. Sonia's actually said, we're confused because we have an assumption how things should work. We do.
Yeah.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
And then when something unexpected happens and it turns it all upside down and we feel out of control, then that's when it all goes AWOL.
But that does give us a chance to change our habits. If we look into why it is that we are feeling the stress or getting confused, the frustration with it not working or not happening because we're pushing at it and it's just not changing, then you're forced to look at it differently. Yeah.
I think sometimes too, we're so focused on trying to get it right.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing we can do.
Yeah. We
just need to do whatever it is we're doing. What about people that like being confused? Yeah.
And they're really stuck.
I've met them. No, I've met them. They like being confused. They like saying, I don't know.
Well, maybe they don't have to take responsibility for themselves because they don't know what they're supposed to do, and if they do something wrong in their confusion, they say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't really know what I was doing.
So the wonderful excuse.
There's a lot to confuse us in the world at the moment because, you used to be able to say that seeing is believing. And now you look at how things can be manipulated. We can, if we do stuff on the internet and we make our own videos and things, it's surprising how we can make what's one thing another. We've got the systems. So seeing isn't believing anymore. You don't have the visual as a guarantee that you can trust like we used to. And there's a lot of things happening in the world at the moment where we're told not to accept what we used to accept, not to believe what we used to believe. That's going to cause confusion unless you're very clear who you are and what your boundaries are, which comes back to all us, our boundaries. What are our boundaries? What do we believe and what is it that we are comfortable standing on?
And being prepared to stand up and say it, knowing it well enough that we're happy to claim it and speak it out rather. And you have to have a tremendous amount of clarity, or at least have the ability to have the courage to say it.
And not worry about what other people think.
So therefore, perhaps that is connected to letting go of outcomes and, letting it be how it's going to be, and the outflow from that suggestion or opinion or idea, and see what comes of that.
Excuse me. So when we get stressed, we feel it's because we don't have a choice.
Because it has to be a certain way in our minds.
Because this is who we should be. This is what we should do. This is how we should talk, act, think, speak, perform.
So we're attached to everything being a certain way.
Are we attached to everything being a certain way, or are we convinced we have to fit a certain way?
Ooh, I think for many people, it's to fit a certain way, because I think stress is attached to fear. And, you know, you're going to be left behind, left on your own. You know, you're stupid. You're not allowed in the gang, you know.
Like cancel culture.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's. I lost what I was going to say then, but I think going back, we do things a lot of the time, especially when we're kids. I think we do things as our parents say that we should. You know, you can never go up to your auntie and say, "I don't like your dress, auntie. It's horrible." You know, you get a clip around the ear. You can't do that. And then as you get older, you think it, and you begin to differentiate who you can say that to and who you can't, without causing them any pain. But in that learning process, there's a lot of confusion. How do you discern one from the other? And there's a lot of stress in case you get it wrong and you actually upset the person.
Yeah.
Not deliberately, but in case they get napped with it or something, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that's a lot of the time confusion and stress go hand in hand. And sometimes confusion leads to stress, and stress leads to confusion. But I also feel that within that, if Helen's going sort of like a whirlwind, but if you've got the strength just to lift your head up out of that whirlwind, you'll see there's actually a totally different horizon.
Agree. Do you think that we are required to be more flexible in order for all of this for all of us to navigate stress and confusion? Because social norms change all the time.
True, but I also think sometimes we can be too flexible.
Right.
I think we can be so flexible that we've got no clear path of which direction to take.
Yes.
We try to adhere to what so many different people are saying and please so many different people.
Yeah.
That we can't. So I personally feel that there's a purpose to both, that for some people it's about being flexible, and for other people it's about being clear and centered. Annam says confusion brings stress, especially when we're challenging our own belief system, and that's what I was going to come to. When we get stressed or confused, it's because something that we've believed and accepted as a belief doesn't work for us in the same way. And for a lot of people, having to look at that belief system is a challenge. They'd rather muddle through than stop and examine it in case they're seen to be irreverent, inappropriate, negative.
And some people are possibly not even aware of the belief system that's operating behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So how do we turn, let's start with confusion. How do we turn confusion into a positive?
By stopping, first of all, to accept that we're a bit confused, and that and to look at the options that presents you, because there always is the choices.
Yeah, but what if you're so confused because you can't see a path forward? And that can happen. There can be so many things coming at once that we're confused as to which direction to take, and we freeze. So how can that be a positive? And if the audience have got an answer, please share it, because we're all confused here.
Well, I'm not sure, because does that not directly connect? Sorry, Glynis, connect to stress? That's where you get really stressed. So you can actually address the confusion till you've addressed how stressed you are about being confused.
But then your stress might be because you're confused, and so there's the circle again.
Yes. So how do we get out of that? Yeah. Sorry, Glynis.
Yes. What would you?
I was going to suggest that one of the things that we can do is we can actually ask for support, and we can collaborate with somebody else. We can get other ideas from somebody else.
What if it's other people's ideas that have caused the confusion in the first place?
Well, in that case, we maybe want to collaborate instead of with our mind.
One of the things that I always found helpful when I started to feel confused about something is I would make a list of the pros and the cons.
Mm.
And in doing that, in putting down on, I used to put on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, all the things that I felt were confusing, that I couldn't clarify. And then on the right-hand side of the paper, I'd write all the things that I was clear about.
Yes.
And then I'd write what I felt about each of them.
Brilliant.
Because in writing down what I felt, I could see where my emotions were either in alignment with what I was thinking or not in alignment with what I was thinking. And that's where I begin to get clues as to what the confusion was.
Also, a great way to get it all out of your head space.
I mean, there's a phrase, get it out of your system. To me, writing stuff out on a piece of paper, I'm taking it out of my system, I'm putting it where I can see it clearly. And I may not have all of the issues, but the process of doing that steps me out of the energy of confusion.
Yeah. So it's a process of actually taking action. So
Yeah.
if you're just sitting there confused and frozen with fear because you're confused, the next step is to take action.
Yeah. So go for a walk.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's a bit like anxiety as well. You can lay in bed in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and thinking, oh, what have you done? What haven't I done? What have I got to do? How am I going to do it? What's going to do? And so that will go on. And it's probably the same thing. They advocate the best thing to get out of that is to actually get out of bed, get out of where you are. If you're sitting in a chair, get out and do something, even if it's make a cup of tea, and that breaks that pattern of that infinite bloody circle going round and round.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't know. I think that it's a great idea, but I could quite imagine the scenario where someone is so deeply confused. And the more confused they are, the more the stress begins to build up with them. And they're not always, they haven't perhaps got the, I don't like saying it, but perhaps they haven't got the willpower, the mental strength to actually leave that there. And you come over here and put notes on paper, or pick the phone up and talk to someone. They're just so almost paralyzed in it.
There's a couple of people said, talking to somebody else. Glynis has said it, go and talk to somebody else, get a mentor. If you're going to talk, if you're confused and you talk to somebody else, in our world nowadays, most people tell you the answer before you finish the sentence about your confusion. So if you're going to talk to somebody, you really want somebody who will listen.
Yeah.
And then ask one question. So what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
What do you want to do about it? 9 times out of 10, we are confused because we haven't given ourselves permission to know the answer, which sounds a bit silly, but it's true.
I agree. Yeah.
And the moment somebody says, so what do you want to do about it? Oh, well, I could do this, or I might do that, or I think this, or I think it starts to open the door. Once the person starts to clarify the confusion, then having other people make suggestions can be positive. But if somebody hasn't clarified their own confusion, suggestions can make that confusion worse. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's what we call a sounding board, right? And so you can sound it out, and then you can actually hear your voice speaking the words. So if you're just sitting by yourself, you're not likely to speak it out loud. And so it allows you to have that sounding board feedback. And then it's not just.
Well, you could talk it out to yourself.
Oh, you could, but many people will just won't. Write it down, ponder it, but
maybe you could sit in front of the mirror at the dressing table.
Talk to yourself.
And talk to yourself as if you're the third party.
There we go.
That would be a bit of fun.
I'm sure she lives on her own.
And where the stress comes in is that we judge our confusion. We judge not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And the moment we bring judgment into the equation, we just compound it all.
you've lost it.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because then it feeds back into our story of, can't do this, not worthy. The whole
Yeah.
negativity starts to rear up again. So we focus on what's positive about ourselves, focus on all the things that we can do, that we are good at, if we actually give ourselves the permission.
Yeah.
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 I think we'd be surprised.
Annam says, so true about the judgment. I know, we're so good at judging ourselves, aren't we?
I don't know. The jury's out on that one.
Trouble is, we are judge
Yeah.
and jury and executioner when we think we've done something wrong. So has anyone in the audience got any question around confusion or stress? Or something to throw as a curveball to create confusion or stress for us, and then you can watch us struggle on the wheel together? Doesn't look as though anybody wants to do that yet.
Can I-
I've not given them
I
time.
just thought of a scenario that causes confusion and stress.
Yeah.
Right, it's a bit silly, but
Okay.
it's basic. You go into a room and you say, anyone like a cup of tea? Yes, please. How'd you have it? Milk, please. Do you have sugar? Yeah, just one. Why someone can't say, you're standing there, say, why don't you just say,
Yeah.
a cup of tea, milk with one? It's while they're making their mind up. What, do you want it in a cup or a paper bag? I'll have it in a saucer.
Exactly, so silly. Oh, but Helen, then that phrase also, when we say I work best under stress.
Yeah.
Got an affirmation.
I work best under stress, yes. I've done it myself, definitely. I think, and just sort of, okay, you've gotten to the point where I'm so stressed now, whatever I've got, I'm going with. Because you've spent enough time going through all the different options and winding yourself all up. So you've got this amount of time to do it. And you end up going back to the first thing you thought of.
It's true. And sometimes we equate being stressed with being worthy.
Yes. Yes, I know that one.
Karen
Very
says,
much a Hong Kong thing, I seem to remember.
Yes.
No, it's not just, excuse me, it's not just a Hong Kong thing. It happened in Australia, it happened in New Zealand, it happened in England. I think anybody that's got a brain in business thinks that saying they're stressed proves they're really, really busy.
Exactly.
Is there a possibility of a stress-free life? That's what Karen wants to know. A great question, Karen.
How do you define a stress-free life?
Well, now, but
that's...
Karen, Tony wants you to define a stress-free life, and then he'll answer the question. But what about you, Glynis? What do you think? Is there such a thing as a stress-free life?
It could be something to aim for. I'm not sure that actually exists.
Well, medical people say that a certain amount of stress is good for us because it's a motivator.
Yeah.
It gives us the possibility of change, because it's not whether we're stressed. And this is what I did a meditation this morning, feeling very stressed about tonight's broadcast, I might add. And what came through really clearly, and it comes back to what Glynis was talking about earlier, is it's our choice as to how we feel and think about that stress.
Yeah.
So Karen's saying for her, a stress-free life is someone who managed their stress well. So providing we see our stress as positive, and we're not deluding ourselves, I think it's valuable. Glynis, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, if we're always living from a comfortable place, then we're not actually growing as individuals.
Yeah.
So it's great to have challenges sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually they're motivational, aren't they? It's that bit of stress that pushes you in a certain direction, whereas if it's stress-free, I think you just...
Well, that's what Amanda's saying.
You're just
Positive,
going to fade away. way.
Positive and not so positive stress, a type of stress that gets you going.
Yeah.
Caroline says stress can be a badge to wear,
Definitely.
which is what we're saying. That proves we're
Yeah.
working hard.
Yeah.
And Karen says, and also have connection and clarity or trust. So not stressed, accept. I'm not quite certain. Have you not finished your sentence, Karen? I'm a bit confused about that bit. But anyway, I don't think a stress-free life is healthy.
I think it's terrible.
No, I think so. I'd written down earlier the words nervously excited. So, there's an excitement about something to happen. I'm a bit nervous of how it's going to happen. So perhaps that could be interpreted as being stress, but either way, it's the motivator of, I guess, what people term stress.
All is said, if you're stressed, you're out of your comfort zone, which means there's opportunity for growth. Actually, I don't know that I agree with that. I think we can be stressed and still be in our comfort zone. It can be our comfort zone that can stress us. Because we've got so used to being there and we don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
So I think it can be both.
Depends on the individual.
Yeah. Stress is an energy. I've had jobs where there was no stress and I was really good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Absolutely.
So is the way to look at managing this positively about balance? How we balance our day-to-day life?
Yes.
So that when we start to get too stressed, we're able to step out and change it.
But if you've got a balance, you wouldn't be stressed.
No. So if you start, what I'm saying is, supposing I'm doing something at the computer, which happened last week, and all of a sudden the program that I was working on decided that it didn't want to do what it normally does. So nothing I tried to do was going to work. And I knew it wasn't me. I knew it was a program. I was in a comfort zone with that software. I was used to using it. I was used to working with it. I stopped thinking about how it worked.
Automatic.
And I became automatic. Yeah. And so at that point, I stepped out, did something else completely, and let my energy settle, and then went back in to problem solve. So that's not about balancing it so you don't feel stress. It's about, to me, it was about taking the opportunity to look at it and how I could do it differently to bring about an outcome that ended up being different to what I'd intended, but was better. And I think often stress can give us a better outcome because it makes us step out, look at it, and then come back from a different perspective.
Well, that stress could have led to confusion as to why this 2 and 2 aren't equal 4. And then the stress is motivating the confusion, which pushes you to find out, I'm going to fix it now, or let's have 5 minutes, let's have time out and come back. And that I think that type of stress is good. I couldn't imagine a life where you'd had no thoughts, no cares, you got no stress.
No.
To me, that means you got no real interest or anything.
And the other thing, it makes you take care of yourself in the moment if you see it as an opportunity.
Yes, and not just impatience or frustration.
Yeah, you get up and you walk away. And here we go. Annam, if stress is impacting your health, you need to manage it. Absolutely. Is it also reaction versus response when faced with stressful situation? It can be, or it can also be as simple as being so used to sitting back and letting everybody else take care of things when it's actually time for you to step up and take care of it yourself.
Yes. Yeah, responsibility.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's easy to use confusion and stress as avoidance. But then it doesn't get us what we want, and then we become more stressed. Whereas if when we start to feel stressed, we stop and say, what do I need to do here, me, in this moment? Step away, or just switch the computer off, rather than throw it through the window, because that's not always a healthy thing. And then come back to it later.
Yes.
And that always works to step away. That always stops you from reacting to anything, to take yourself out of whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've observed as to why people remain stressed is that they put their head under the pillow, as it were, for a bit. They come up and then they go back. So they just keep on avoiding, and it just builds on itself.
Yeah.
Yes, because that comes into like, I just can't.
I can't. So then you've gone into sort of like a place of feeling that you're a victim, which, gets you nowhere.
So basically, if we want to get the most out of stress and confusion, it's about taking action.
Yeah.
And maybe just not judging it and seeing it for what it is, which is a flag to say, stop.
Yeah.
Regroup, what's going on, and what are you going to do about it? Yeah.
Somebody's rattling. One of you two is rattling. It is stressful for people listening. Go on.
It's a machine over there.
No, it's a rattle.
Someone's got a bag.
Somebody's scratching paper or something on their desk. So
Yeah.
yes,
Not
we agree.
guilty.
Yes, agree that sometimes. Oh, it's your fault, Elaine. Glynis has just said it's all your fault. There you go.
Yes.
Yes, we agree.
I'm going to
that
give you some stress.
we use stress and confusion as avoidance. Addressing it is an opportunity to grow from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the only way. If we can start to look at when we get confused or stressed, to look at it and say, okay, acknowledge it.
Exactly.
What's going on? Get up, walk away, make a cup of tea, whatever. And if we start to find ourselves blaming ourselves because I should or I ought to be able to, break that cycle.
Yep.
We begin to handle our stress more effectively. Okay, Glynis is gradually disappearing into
Yes.
the darkness.
The light's going down.
That's
because
she's unwrapping lollies.
that's because she's unwrapping hidden lollies, and she's wanting to eat them where nobody can see her and see how stressed she is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being present for tonight. If you've got any thoughts or ideas or suggestions on what we could do to handle confusion and stress that we haven't talked about, put them on the Facebook page, please. And what we'll do is we'll gather them together as a document for people to download.
Right.
That they can have handy just in case, because I'm sure that you've all got lots of thoughts and ideas yourselves on how you handle your own stress and confusion.
I just quickly share my way of dealing with stress. I've got a punch bag in the garage. I just put the gloves on and knock 7 rails out of that. And by the time I finish, I'm not stressed at all. No problem.
Brilliant.
I almost said, and the punch bag's called Helen, but I thought, no, I better not.
No.
And it keeps you fit, Tony.
See, I'm really stressed now.
Absolutely.
Just this once, I'm going to hang Helen from the garage and not out of her. And say, are you confused yet?
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Ladies, please do not disappear yet. I'm going to switch the broadcast off. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know how you think and feel about it. Did we help your stress and confusion, or did we add to it? Talk to you later. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.